Hello everybody, my name is Beth, and if you're new here, thank you for stopping by, and if you've been here before, welcome back, and thanks for coming back. So this is my wrap-up for October, and I'm going to start with the very first book I finished for this month, and it was for Halloweekend Readathon, and it was on October 2nd. I have my books in a chair beside me. I gave this book 4 stars. It's my best friend's exorcism. It's not generally my typical kind of read. I do like the fact that it's set back in the 80s and it's got the song titles from 80s songs, and so it's about a girl, 2 girls, they're friends, and they go swimming one night and it goes horribly wrong, and so one of them gets possessed and the other one has to help her friend out, so because nobody else believes that there's anything wrong with her friend. So it's actually, can their friendship withstand it? So there's that one. Good book. And this is by Grady Hendrix. So the next one that I read was I'm trying to make sure that was Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. I finished this one on October 7th, and it goes without saying that I post these in my Facebook group that I am a member of. I don't host it or anything, but I just join every month. 5 stars. This has Hercule Poirot, yes, in it, and I love his character in these Agatha Christie books. I also love the female character that Agatha Christie writes about as well. But this is about a little girl is drowned in a pan of water that was for bobbing apples, and she has said that she witnessed a murder before. So Hercule Poirot has to figure out what happened, and his friend, who is a novelist, she writes mystery books, murder mystery books, is there at the party, and that's how he gets involved. So 5 stars. If you like cozy mysteries, this is a good one, because Agatha Christie is the queen of cozy mysteries to me. And I really think hers are, I don't know, I love Agatha Christie. Okay, the next one I read was The Lost Village, and I gave this one 5 stars. I finished it on October 9th. This is about a village where a whole town went missing, and this film crew is going to go and make a documentary, and they get there and some things happen and they realize they're not alone. The girl that's leading the film crew it's her grandmother used to live there, and her whole family went missing. So when things start happening and people start going missing, somebody goes missing, they realize that they're not alone in this town, that somebody is. Anyway, very good book. I enjoyed this one, and it was a little creepy, and it was actually translated by Alexandra Fleming, but it's by Camilla Stem, but I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed that one. All right, and then the next one that I finished was I know it's coming. Jack Reacher. And I say Jack Reacher because that's the character. Lee Child writes the same character. He's in the books, all the books that Lee Child writes. Anyway, the book is worth dying for. Goes without saying, 5 stars. Every Reacher book that Lee Child writes is 5 stars. This one is about I'm having to refresh my memory. Okay. There's a family in town, and they kind of run the town, and people are afraid to, let me scoot over just a little. People are afraid to stand up to them because they run the trucks that carry the crops out of the town, and these are farmers that live in the town. And there's a missing child's case, and Reacher meets the woman whose child had went missing, and so these people want him out, and they think they can put him out, and so they have these big football player, like college football player people that they send after him, but Reacher puts him down. At least the first one. I won't tell you no more about it, but 5 stars. Loved it. Reacher is awesome. I love Lee Child's books because I love Jack Reacher. Okay, so the next one, I finished that one on October 15th. The next one is going to be the book I read for the Cozy Hollow Book Club, and I didn't get to watch the live discussion, so I'm going to have to go back and watch it because I was sick when they did the live discussion. But In the Company of Witches, Orly Wallace wrote this. I gave this 5 stars. It's about 2 sisters. They run a B&B, a bed and breakfast, with their niece, and their niece has recently lost her husband, and she has not picked up her powers again because she just does not want to talk to ghosts. But somebody dies in the B&B, and she needs to help her aunts solve this case because her aunt, one of her aunts, is being charged with the murder because all signs are pointing to one of her aunts. So 5 stars, awesome little cozy mystery, and so awesome that I bought the second book, the companion book to this one. It's the second book to this series. The next book that I read was wait a minute. I might have just missed a book. I might have. I did miss a book. Okay, let me pick this one up. So on the 11th, I couldn't count this for my bonus prompt, but I did finish The Hacienda. I had mentioned that by Isabel Cañas. I had attempted to read this for a couple of months, but I just couldn't get into it at the time. I picked this up, started reading it, loved it, ended up giving it 4 stars. Only reason I knocked it down a notch was it didn't end the way I wanted it to end. But I would recommend it. It is a good read. It's about a house that talks for itself, but it is haunted by a ghost, and so it's kind of off kilter. So the woman, I guess it's the woman on the cover, marries the man who owns the house, and she goes to live there, and she brings in a priest to exorcise the house, and her husband is very upset about it. And so anyway, the priest decides he really wants to help her with this house because he used to live at this house. And he knows the house is off because he can feel it. So, loved this book. Glad I pushed through and finished it, and wished I could have, finished it for the Halloweekend Readathon. But still would recommend it for those of you that like good thrillers. Okay, now let me go back to regularly scheduled programming. And so, let's see, did that one. So now I'm on October 22nd. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So most of you know I'm a 6th grade teacher and I teach early man. Those are my standards. And we haven't gotten to Mayans yet, but I read Gods of Jade and Shadow. Absolutely loved this book. Sylvia Morena Garcia wrote it. Excuse me, sorry. 5 stars. Loved this book. I had the audiobook for this one. Listened to the audiobook for a little bit, but then I decided just to read it. It is set in the Jazz Age, and Cassiopeia, her father passes away, and her mother takes her to live with her mother's father, and he didn't agree with the man that her mother married, so Cassiopeia has to do a lot of the chores, but she is smart, and she reads to him. She takes him his supper, his lunch, his food. And so when they're all gone, one day she opens this chest and releases the Mayan god of death. And he requests her help to in recovering his throne. So it didn't have quite the ending I wanted it to have, but it had the only ending that rightfully could have had. But I still absolutely loved this book. And I have loved every book this author has written as well. So 5 stars, love this book. And I enjoyed reading about the Mayan god of death because I'm going to teach about the Mayans. It doesn't really relate, but, just to have that little bit of connection was interesting. Okay, so the next book was a novella that I read for my bonus prompt for Halloweekend Readathon, and it was Greg Iles' The Death Factory, and it's a pen cage novella. And here I am getting out of the like I need that big area for the. Anyway, this is talking about. Okay, Penn Cage's dad has had a heart attack, and he's asked for his son, Penn. He's requested that Penn's mom get a hold of him. He needs to tell him something. So he comes in, but his dad can't remember even telling his mom that. So his uncle, Penn's uncle, comes in, his dad's little brother, and so they're talking about this case that Penn had in Texas, and Texas is called the Death Factory in this series because they believed in the because they had so many on death row, and they sent more killers to death row than any other in America. Okay, so Cage was taking care of his wife who had cancer, and then he had this case come up, and so he had to bring up a lot in question. So he's explaining this to his uncle during this time, and that's what this book is about. It's very short. It's a quick read. I read it in like an hour and just sat here one Saturday morning I think it was a Saturday morning. Maybe it's been a Sunday morning. And whatever the 23rd was, probably a Sunday morning. And read it. I gave it 4 stars for it just to be like a little storytelling thing with no like real action, because he's just telling his uncle about this case. Then it was really good. So, and it made me want to read the more books by him. So 4 stars. The next book I read this past weekend was Uzumaki, and I talked about it in my vlog that I'm fixing to upload. And I gave it 3 stars, but I'm going to bump it up to 4, and I'm going to change that right this minute. Like, all right, what it is. And of course, I finished it on the 29th, and so this is about a town, and it's cursed by the spiral, and it's contaminated, and these people that's about all I can say. It's contaminated by the spiral. That's what the back says. It's just contaminated by the spiral. And then the last one, so 4 stars for that. The last one was Ruth Ware's The It Girl. I love Ruth Ware's writing, and I love this book. 5 stars. This was a great book. It's about a woman who is pregnant with her first child. She's married to this man named Will. They went to college together, but Hannah, which is the woman, never finished college because her best friend April, who was the it girl, and I'll leave that part out. I'm not gonna tell that part. She was murdered, so Hannah couldn't finish school. It traumatized her, and on Hannah's testimony, she sent somebody to prison. So then there's doubt thrown on after this man dies in prison, and that's just in the synopsis in here. So then she starts questioning everything, and some of her friends are thrown in to the mix, and even, and her husband was in the friend group as well. So 5 stars, loved it, and I didn't know up until it was obvious who it was. So love this book. And so those were my books. I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. 10 for this month, and I have 20 or 21 on my TBR for November. So I don't know why I think I'm going to read any more than I did this month. But, I'm going to try. So that's it. That's my wrap up. If you enjoyed this and you made it this far, put me a book stack down there for the emojis book stack. And if you liked it, hit that like button, that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more from me, just hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.